This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Thursday, April 17th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center, a mix of sun and clouds. Today, the high going to be 62. Tonight and overnight, clear, low 44. And then Friday, sun and clouds, high 68. If you are walking out the door with us right now, it's 41 and clear in Rye up in Westchester County, 40 and clear in Chester over in New Jersey, and it's 43 and partly cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
A teen stabbing in Times Square has tourists worried. New Jersey Transit bracing for a train engineer walkout. New Yorkers seem to be souring on Senator Schumer. Why did a woman drive into the drink in Brooklyn? And New Yorkers are flocking to an old-school video store. All right, let's get into it at 5 o'clock. The big story of the day is that my microphone is all over the place. Like, I can't tighten it. I know you have big problems, you think, this morning, but my problem is much larger than yours, is that I have this microphone. Now, watch this. If I hold it, I can't hold the microphone and do my entire news hour. So if I let it go, hold on a second, let's see what happens. It just droops, and I have to, like, get down. See what it's doing? It needs, like, Viagra. Yeah, it needs Viagra. Okay. Is there a way I can fix this? Hold on a second, because this is going to be a very long hour because I have to do traffic and everything. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Wait. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, wait. No. All right. I'm just going to hold it. All right. Let's start with this. Police. Oh, wait. What's that? You're saying I need to hold this up? Hold on. We're making a fix as we speak. This is, you get to see all the stuff that happens behind the curtain on this program. Oh, look at that. Matt Blaze for the win. He fixed it. Thank you, Matt. All right. Police are searching for two men after a teen was stabbed above the eye, Midtown Manhattan last night. The stabbing happening just about 7 o'clock. This is West 44th and 8th Avenue.
Police try to catch a young boy. Maybe he stabbed somebody, and I see the another guy is like affected, and I saw the blood also in the street.
Yeah, so police say the 14-year-old stabbed just above the left eye. He was taken to Bellevue Hospital. He's in stable condition.
People are really scared, scary about this. And people are afraid. People think this time New York City is unsecure.
Yes, I reached out to NYPD early this morning to find out what was this all about. Was this random? Did not hear back, but police still looking for the individuals involved in the stabbing. One of them was wearing a ski mask. No arrests have been made. Of course, nobody likes to see a stabbing in Times Square because, of course, especially this time of year, it's the biggest tourist attraction in New York City. In Puerto Rico, there continues to be almost an island-wide blackout this morning. 1.4 million people on the island without power. The head of Luma Energy, which oversees the transmission and distribution of power in Puerto Rico, says they don't know what went wrong. So there are plenty of places that do have generators. So hotels, especially because it's Easter weekend, are at capacity. Thousands of tourists on vacation. Those places, for the most part, have generators running, and so they have power and that kinds of things. But if you're a regular folk on the island of Puerto Rico, you're probably fuming this morning because there was an island-wide blackout back around New Year's Day. So what's really going on? They don't know. How long will these people be without power? The head of this transmission, this electric company, Luma Energy, saying it could be another day or two until they figure out what the heck is going on. We go from Puerto Rico down to El Salvador, where Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen is trying to bring home a deported man.
The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring Abrego Garcia home until he returns to his family.
Van Hollen hopes to meet in person with Kilmar Abrego Garcia at the prison where he's been held much of the time since he was taken into custody by ICE in late March and then deported. Van Hollen is also trying to arrange meetings with the Salvadorian government.
I hope to have the chance to actually see Kilmar and see what his condition is, but we are going to keep fighting because this is a miscarriage of justice.
Okay, so this is what the Democrats are saying, is that they don't believe Abrego Garcia has done a whole lot wrong, that he deserves to be in a prison in El Salvador. The White House, of course, pushing back against that, saying Abrego Garcia is a criminal gang member. Yet Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says that he was rightfully sent to El Salvador and that Democrats need to look at the facts.
The Democrats and the media in this room have continually and wrongly labeled Kilmar Abrego Garcia as a Maryland father. There is no Maryland father.
Now, the White House says Abrego Garcia's wife filed a domestic violence complaint against him back in 2021, but she's one of the people who has been campaigning to get him back from El Salvador.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member, and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country.
Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, he's weighing in on the Abrego Garcia case.
I would not expect the United States president, except for pleading, to expect that he can tell the president of El Salvador what to do. If you're legally in the country, you're entitled to due process. And I believe that due process for people that are illegally in the country is a little less than people that are citizens of the United States. U.S. citizens should not be deported.
And a federal judge says the White House could face potential contempt prosecution in this case.
Judge James Boasberg wants to know why the Department of Justice did not turn around the deportation planes of hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador mid-flight. The White House says the order was oral and not written and was not valid. The Supreme Court lifted Boasberg's temporary ban on deportations, and the issue appeared to be over. But now Boasberg has given the DOJ a deadline to explain the flights. I'm Mark Mayfield.
5:06, let's go down to Florida. Police releasing the 911 calls from a fatal plane crash there last week. The twin-engine Cessna had just taken off from Boca Raton Airport. It was on its way to Tallahassee.
911, are you calling reference to plane crash? Yes, I got it involved. Ma'am, were you involved? No, okay, we're on our way. We're on our way.
Hi, I'm at the Houston, and something just dropped from the sky, and there's a big accident.
Yes, ma'am, we're aware.
A makeshift memorial continues to grow near the crash site along Military Trail. It pays tribute to the three on board, including a 17-year-old.
We're at Military.
Yep, there's a plane crash. Are you calling about that?
Oh, my God, we saw it go down.
All right, I got to let you go. I got to grab another call.
Boca Raton Airport Authority. We have an aircraft that's in the air currently in distress, and we were wondering if you could dispatch fire.
Yeah, it's not clear yet. The NTSB, FAA doing an investigation of why that plane came down, killing all three people on board. Stanford University, Princeton, joining Harvard now and responding to the Trump administration's demands. The administration's requiring Harvard to eliminate DEI programs that impact hiring and admissions.
Very important for universities to stand together, especially private universities, at a time in which the Trump administration is trying to get these universities to bend to its own ideological views.
The president and provost at Stanford University says to create positive change, they don't want to harm scientific research or allow the government to control private organizations. As Harvard refuses, Department of Education has frozen about $2 billion in federal funding and now apparently are thinking about taking away Harvard's tax-exempt status, which would be a huge deal in this war between the White House and those Ivy League schools. 509. The chair of the Federal Reserve, says he expects inflation to rise and economic growth to slow due to the tariffs.
The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth.
That was Jerome Powell. He was speaking at the Economic Club of Chicago as he made that announcement. The market started to tank. He said he's worried about the economy, the tension from the tariffs. They are also talking about the fact that there's probably not going to be any change in the rates. Here's more from him.
For the time being, we are well positioned to wait for greater clarity before considering any adjustments to our policy stance.
Yeah, so Powell's comments, as he was speaking, he sent the Dow down about 700 points. So he also said that interest rate cuts may not come anytime soon. And so now everybody watching the markets so closely again, correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer reports that the U.S. and China are continuing to spar over these steep tariffs, even after the U.S. placed import taxes on products from many other countries on hold for 90 days. They're still in this battle with China, and that's part of the issue that the biggest issue that the markets don't seem to like very much.
China is still refusing to negotiate with President Trump, and now the retaliation goes beyond tariffs. Beijing telling Chinese airlines to not order jets from Boeing. It's America's biggest exporter, this according to Bloomberg.
Tariffs on at least 145% remain on Chinese goods. There's a temporary exemption on duties against computers and smartphones.
China's also putting export controls on critical rare earths. It's limiting Hollywood films in the Chinese market, adding U.S. companies to its unreliable entities list, and threatening to cut off talks on fentanyl.
Yeah, so there's no suggesting that China is backing down, and neither is the U.S. for that matter.
The White House has said that President Trump is adamant that we don't have to make a deal with China. China needs to make a deal with us. But neither side appears ready to make that deal. There is real impact for consumers, feeling it in everything from toys to toothbrushes to baby goods. Tariffs do pose a risk for China's economy, too. It's no secret that growth is slowing here. But for now, neither side of this trade showdown appears willing to budge.
And California pushing back now. They are suing the White House over the tariffs.
President Trump's rogue and erratic tariffs are wreaking havoc on our nation's financial systems and causing uniquely immense harm to California's economy.
That's California's State Attorney General Rob Bonta, who says it's unlawful for President Trump to use the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. He's saying only Congress has the authority to impose those tariffs.
California is the nation's largest importer and second largest exporter, the largest when it comes to agricultural exports.
And he says California being hit the hardest by these tariffs.
He's even claimed there's an influx of illegal immigration and illicit drugs crossing over the Canadian border as the basis for imposing across-the-board tariffs on Canada. It is completely untrue. In actuality, less than 1% of fentanyl and illegal crossings actually come from Canada.
Where the hell is Congress? Where the hell is Speaker Johnson? Do your job. They're sitting there passively as this guy wrecks the economy in the United States of America.
That's Governor Gavin Newsom.
No state is poised to lose more than the state of California.
The Golden State apparently the number one importer, number two exporter of goods in the nation. 513. While we're in California, the Menendez brothers could be one step closer to freedom after being convicted of gunning down their parents over 35 years ago.
A Los Angeles County judge cleared the way for a resentencing hearing, which begins Thursday. Eric and Lyle Menendez claim they were sexually abused by their father, and their mother was aware when they shot their parents inside their Beverly Hills mansion. The current DA doesn't support their defense.
We said that they have not ever accepted in over 30 years the fact that self-defense was a lie.
If resentenced, the brothers could potentially be eligible for parole. I'm Lisa Taylor.
514 from California, we head over to Pennsylvania. The suspected weekend arson at the Pennsylvania governor's mansion being investigated as a possible hate crime now. Governor Josh Shapiro, whose family lives part-time in the mansion, said that the level of violence is not okay.
This kind of violence has no place in our society, regardless of what motivates it. This is not how we resolve our differences.
So the district attorney believes the suspect who started this fire, allegedly so, Cody Balmer, targeted Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, for his Jewish faith after he reportedly claimed Shapiro had plans for what he wants to do to the Palestinian people. Now, Shapiro's been a staunch supporter of Israel, and apparently Cody Balmer doesn't like that much.
This level of violence has to end, and it has to be roundly condemned by everyone. Both political parties, people from all different walks of life. Nothing he could do would deter me from doing my job as governor. Nothing he could do would deter me from proudly and openly practicing my faith.
Police still investigating how Palmer was allegedly able to get into the mansion, start that fire. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Friday Eve. Good morning, Justin Allen.
Happy Friday Eve. Good morning to you, Noam Layden. We will start here on the diamond. In the Bronx, Aaron Judge hit a tie-breaking homer leading off the seventh inning that ended a 10-game drought, and the Yankees defeated the Royals 4-3 to complete a 3-game sweep of Kansas City. With a runner at second base in the ninth, Cody Bellinger made a diving catch in right field on M.J. Melendez's sinking liner to preserve Fernando Cruz's first career save. Judge had 3 hits for the third time this season. He reached base 4 times, and his batting average climbed 27 points to a Major League best 409. Yankees starter Clark Schmidt pitched 5 2/3 innings of 3-run ball in his season debut. Coming up next for the Yankees, Will Warren will get the start in tonight's opener of a weekend series against the Rays. First pitch from Tampa is scheduled for 7:05 p.m. In Minnesota, the Mets dropped their series finale in rubber game against the Twins. The final score 4-3 in 10 innings. Pete Alonso and Jesse Winker hit RBI doubles to end a 12-inning scoreless streak for the Mets in the 8th against Griffin Jags, and Luis Angel Acuna tied it with a 2-out single. The Mets got 3 1/3 solid innings from Justin Hagenman in his Major League debut after his call-up from AAA Syracuse in a bullpen game after Griffin Canning was scratched for illness. Up next for the Mets, they'll host St. Louis for a 4-game series starting tonight from Queens. First pitch there is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. To the NHL in Jersey, the Devils dropped their regular season finale 5-2 to the visiting Detroit Red Wings. The Devils finished with 42 wins and 91 points for third place in the Metropolitan Division. They will play the Carolina Hurricanes in the first round coming up this weekend. And a couple of NBA play-in games last night. The final from Chicago, the Heat beat the Bulls 109-90. Miami will move on to a second play-in game against the Hawks. That'll decide the Eastern Conference 8 seed, set for a 7 p.m. tip-off from Atlanta tomorrow night. And the final from Sacramento saw the Mavericks beat the Kings 120-106. And Dallas will move on to a second play-in game against the Grizzlies. That'll decide the Western Conference 8 seed. That's set for a 9:30 p.m. tip-off from Memphis tomorrow night.
The playoffs are almost as long as the regular season now, aren't they?
It's incredible, right? How many goddamn
play-in games?
How many play-in games do you need to play?
I feel like that's gone on for 2 weeks
What's
already.
with the double elimination?
Yeah.
My God, it's out of control. Well, I mean, one set of play-in games, it's single elimination, obviously. But
right.
if you're the lowest seed here, you get another shot at it, or the highest seed. What I have, if you're the worst seed, you get another shot at it. That's crazy. What are we doing here?
Go back to the day where just the teams that had by far the best record should go on to the postseason and make it a very short playoff season. I think it'd be better for the NBA.
8 teams per conference.
Yeah.
What was the problem with that?
I don't know, but now everybody gets in.
Every single player. Yeah. Same with the NHL. Everybody gets in.
Think hard about why.
Does it have anything
Let me
to do
think
with
hard about
money,
why.
maybe?
Could it be the moolah?
Very good. No lady.
What makes the world go round? What makes the world go round? That's money. Come on now, guys. All right. Well, that's your sports gnome and your money report, I guess, on 77 WABC.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash LLC. Transporting your business's cash safely in armored trucks. SecureCashLLC.com.
Yep, 5:20. Let's head up to Maine. The Justice Department is suing the state of Maine for allowing transgender athletes to compete in women's sports. AG Pam Bondi hinted that California could be next.
We're looking at California. We're looking at many, many states.
Earlier this month, California lawmakers blocked a bill that would have banned transgender athletes from playing on girls' sports teams.
Because they refuse to protect young women in their state. So, yes, California, multiple states.
All right, we'll have to see if that takes place. 5:20. The percentage of children in the U.S. who are diagnosed with autism continues to rise. Correspondent Ann Thompson reports that based on new findings by the CDC, and based on medical records, that we're seeing these numbers rise.
1 in 31 8-year-olds were identified with autism spectrum disorder in 2022, up from 1 in 36 in 2020. Boys were more than 3 times as likely to be identified with autism as girls.
Now, the author of this report attributes some of the increase to improvements in just detecting autism, so that will spike the numbers, and mass awareness. Dr. Alex Clovezon is the clinical director of the Seaver Autism Center in New York, and he says one widely held belief about autism, at least to him, is not true.
There's a lot of things that we do not understand as of yet about autism, but one thing we know with certainty is that vaccines do not cause autism.
Now, he says he believes a number of factors are driving the increase.
Broadening diagnostic criteria, perhaps younger age of diagnosis, and getting the diagnosis is a means of getting services, which are important for kids.
Meanwhile, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he's ramping up his efforts to get more data on the rising rates of child autism in the U.S. The Health and Human Services Secretary telling reporters yesterday that the studies available are at least 2 years old, and he wants to change all that.
We are going to have updated real-time data so that people can look at this, so Americans can understand what is happening with chronic disease in this country in real time.
Now, Kennedy recently promised to find the cause of autism by September. I mean, I think everybody's rooting him on for that to happen, whether it will or not. That's not clear, but he says enough is enough when it comes to autism. He says kids are hurting.
These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who, many of them were fully functional and regressed because of some environmental exposure into autism when they're 2 years old.
522, the trial of the so-called Doomsday Mom entering its 8th day in an Arizona courtroom. Lori Vallow Daybell is accused of conspiring to kill her 4th husband in 2019, and the prosecutor had a detective on the stand yesterday reviewing her romantic texts with Chad Daybell shortly after her husband was shot and killed.
So this is the person that she has been texting all the romantic love affirmations with right after Charles died.
Vallow Daybell is representing herself in the case. She was found guilty in Idaho in 2023 of murdering her 2 young children and conspiring to murder her husband Chad Daybell's first wife. 523, President Trump calling into the Texas Capitol yesterday, urging Republican lawmakers there to approve private school vouchers.
It's a big vote today, and I hope you are able to vote in a positive manner.
The phone call played by Governor Greg Abbott was met with raucous cheering. Vouchers allow parents to use their tax dollars to send their kids to private school.
It's a really forward-thinking vote. There's nothing complex about it. You're not going to get hurt by it. It's almost the opposite. People really want it.
Now, those vouchers are opposed by teachers groups who argue that it'll siphon money away from low-income schools across the Lone Star State. While we're in Texas, gay pride flags will be banned in Texas public schools under a bill that's moving through the state legislature. It's pushed by one state senator.
We just need to not have advocacy flags displayed in the classroom unless it's part of the curriculum.
She says the move is to cut down on distractions. The only flags allowed in classrooms would be the United States flag, the Texas flag, one's honoring military branches, and one celebrating different colleges and universities.
Make sure that we are focusing on education and not advocacy. If it's not promoting education as part of the curriculum, it does not need to be displayed.
524. Lyft is venturing over to Europe now.
The ride-hailing service announced Wednesday that it's acquiring FreeNow. It's a European taxi app which serves 9 countries, including the United Kingdom, Ireland, and Italy. The company is currently owned by German automakers BMW and Mercedes-Benz. Lyft says the deal is worth nearly $200 million and is hoping to close on it later this year. I'm at Mattinson.
Amazon is testing its self-driving Zoo robo-taxis in Los Angeles as soon as the summer.
The company's website says a small fleet of retrofitted cars will be sent out with safety drivers to manually map the city before beginning autonomous driving later this summer. Los Angeles is the 6th city where Zoox is operating. The name comes from a marine organism called zooxanthellae, which thrives on sunlight and is able to maintain a relationship with other organisms in its environment. Zoox is operating in Miami, Austin, Seattle, Las Vegas, and San Francisco. I'm Jim Roop.
5:25, the Lyrid meteor shower is underway.
The annual celestial display started Wednesday night and will continue through April 25th. The meteors are flying trails of debris left behind by a comet, and they shower the Earth each year in the third week of April. NASA's
Not sure what happened there. 5:26. Actor Haley Joel Osment is facing charges after he was arrested at a ski resort. Daniel Martindale has the details.
Multiple media reports say the 37-year-old Osment was arrested on April 8th on suspicion of public intoxication and possession of an unidentified controlled substance. He was later released. The Mammoth Lakes Police Department and Mono County Sheriff's Office both confirm his arrest. The Mono County District Attorney's Office will decide whether to prosecute the case. I'm Daniel Martindale.
And while we're out in California families must earn twice as much as most American families to afford a home in that state.
The latest Bankrate housing affordability study shows Americans need to earn more than $117,000 a year to afford a home. In California, it's twice that. A family in the Golden State must earn at least $213,000 a year for what's considered a typical or median-priced home. As high as that is, though, Californians' nut is third, behind Hawaii and Washington, D.C. I'm Jim Roop.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the News with Noam on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5:33. Good morning. It is Thursday, April 17th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. A mix of sun and clouds today. Definitely going to be warmer than it was yesterday. High 62. Tonight and overnight, clear, low 44. And it looks pretty nice for Friday, too. Sun and clouds, high 68. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. It is 41 and clear in Rye up in Westchester County. 40 and clear in Chester over in New Jersey. And it's 43 and a couple clouds outside our Midtown studios. We'll start this half hour in New Jersey. New Jersey Transit train engineers rejecting a labor agreement with management, which is now raising the potential for a strike or a lockout as soon as next month. This is New Jersey Transit and their commuters' worst fears may be coming true. The Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen rejecting the March deal by a margin of 87%. That is not good. So now New Jersey's new president, the New Jersey Transit president, saying in a statement that he was disappointed the agreement was not ratified by members and that he was committed to returning to the bargaining table. Details about this agreement just kind of murky. A statement released at the time of the agreement cited a reasonable wage increase for union members as well as a resolution of some long-standing grievances. But apparently those union members rejecting that. Now they'll go back to the bargaining table, but they've given this deadline apparently of May 15th. 5:35. You watched all those divers go into the water last Thursday. Actually, it was 7 days ago today that helicopter fell out of the sky. That family from Spain killed all 5 members on board along with the pilot. And in the moments afterwards, I can say because I had a firsthand look at it being in the water when not too long after it took place, I was amazed by the first responder response, how great it was, how quickly they were there, and especially the NYPD's Harbor Unit Elite Scuba Team that worked as fast as they could to get to the bodies. They didn't, you imagine you show up on the scene, you don't know what exactly has taken place, you don't know exactly who you're looking for. And you can imagine how upsetting it is that you're in the business of rescuing people and there's not much you can do. These 5 people probably, I imagine, they hit the water hard and probably didn't even survive the crash. But these scuba divers jumped in that moment to look for these 6 bodies, and they were able to find them pretty quickly. And so they were speaking out about this yesterday.
Basically, we're pulling up, and once the pilot's given us the go, we're in the water. We were the first divers on scene, actual divers in full scuba gear.
Yeah, so all 6 victims were eventually pulled to the surface, in fact, very quickly so. None would survive, including the 36-year-old pilot, the parents, those 2 technology executives from Spain, along with their 3 kids who were 4, 8, and 10. And in that moment, when they realized, the scuba divers, that none of the people they pull out of the water would survive, you can imagine it's traumatic. It's incredibly traumatic.
It's not something that you get over very quickly, and there's only so much you could do. Even as being as well-trained as we are and trained for situations, there's only so much you could do, unfortunately.
Yeah, so the scuba divers talking to Eyewitness News yesterday. For the next 4 days, the team has used underwater cameras with searchlights, handheld sonar to search the river bottom for the wreckage so the NTSB can do their investigation to figure out why the helicopter crashed last Thursday. So they did 29 dives, and they found the chopper's rotor system, which will likely hold maybe some of the answers as to why the aircraft broke into pieces and tumbled into the sky.
That's what we do, and that's what we expect.
If it's in the water, we're going to find it. There's no reason why we're not going to find it. It's on the bottom. It's just a matter of, like I said, the time that we put in and the effort that we put in.
Hardest part of the job is,
my gosh,
I would think the hardest part of the job is after a couple of days when you haven't located what you want.
Frustration.
Is trying to stay positive. You just gotta keep checking, keep going along, and get to it.
Yeah, amazing to hear them speak out because they don't really get a chance to do that very often because they do an incredible job, as they did on the scene last Thursday during that helicopter crash. WABC News Time, 5:39, an elderly driver drove into the water in Brooklyn yesterday, landing upside down. This was in Mill Basin. Now cops believe he suffered some sort of medical episode. He was 89 years old. So the car went off the road near the intersection of 56th Drive and Arkansas Drive in this residential neighborhood. And the amazing part that he was able to get into the water was because there's usually so many houses there, but this one plot of land there was no house on, and so he drove right into the water. And there were a fair amount of eyewitnesses. It took place about 12 o'clock yesterday.
I heard a boom, and I thought it's the wind. And then somebody told me that a car, and you can see the car in the water. Now,
cops believe the 89-year-old behind the wheel having some sort of medical episode causing him to lose control of the vehicle. He plowed through a metal fence at a pretty high speed, a rate of speed, went through a lawn, which happened to be the only section along the street that doesn't have a house on it, before plunging into the water of the East Mill Basin. The car was upside down, almost entirely submerged in the water, with just the tires and some of the car's undercarriage above the water line. So police, first responders had to jump in the water, race in to get him out.
No, they took him away, and they're trying to revive him, and that's it. He got him out of the car. They're trying to get him in the ambulance and trying to revive him at the same time. They had a mask on him and all that.
So NYPD telling us the emergency crews were able to pull the man from the vehicle, perform CPR while getting him into the ambulance. As of last night, he had been taken to Mount Sinai Hospital in critical condition. 5:41. Congressman Elise Stefanik, a member of the House Republican leadership, one-time nominee for U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, is apparently considering a run for governor here in New York. A person granted anonymity to discuss the internal deliberations says that, she's thinking about running against Democrat Kathy Hochul, who was elected in 2022. Stefanik is a close ally, fierce defender of President Trump, has been nominated to represent the U.S. at the United Nations, but at the last moment, President Trump pulled that nomination because he was worried that Republicans have such a slim margin in the House in Washington.
Will you mind staying in Congress? Because we don't want to take any chances, and it's as simple as that. It's basic politics.
But maybe there was more to the story. Maybe he thought even back then she might be the right Republican to finally win back Albany after so many years.
A very highly rated person, she was a real leader, and she will be again. I spoke with Mike Johnson. They're going to put her in a high leadership position.
Now, Stefanik represents a pretty sprawling congressional district in northern New York. She didn't talk about whether she's going to run when they were asking her about it, but if she does enter the race, She may face off in a Republican primary against Congressman Mike Lawler, who's been teasing that he's going to run for several months now. Now, the last Republican governor in New York was former Governor George Pataki, who served 3 terms and left office almost 2 decades ago. That was the last time there was a Republican in office. 542. 9 members of the jury. People just talk around me while I'm doing this news hour, and it's so annoying. 9 members of the jury picked yesterday on the second day of jury selection in Harvey Weinstein's rape retrial. At the same time, the lawyer for the disgraced Hollywood bigwig asked a judge to allow him to spend his nights at a New York City hospital instead of jail for the duration of the trial, citing his many health issues, including cancer and problems walking that require the use of a wheelchair to get in and out of court. Now, whether he'll be granted that, we don't know. The jurors that were picked, 5 women, 4 men, were picked from a group of 25 prospective jurors who spent the past 2 days answering questions from prosecutors and Weinstein's lawyers to gauge their ability to be impartial, because it seems everybody knows about this Harvey Weinstein case. They are the first jurors picked after none were chosen on Tuesday. Weinstein's lawyer, our good friend Arthur Aidala, says his client is anxious to get this trial started.
But there's a degree of nervous energy in a positive way to finally have his voice heard and have his day in court under very different circumstances than 5 years ago.
Jury selection will resume this morning with a fresh group of about 80 prospective jurors to begin the screening process anew. Judge Curtis Farber has said a total of 12 jury members and 6 alternates need to be picked before this case gets underway. The 73-year-old Weinstein has pled not guilty, denies raping or sexually assaulting anyone. 544. New York Attorney General Letitia James has been referred for criminal prosecution for alleged mortgage fraud related to a Virginia home and a New York property. The director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency wrote a letter that was obtained by some local news outlets to Attorney General Pam Bondi, alleging that James has in multiple instances falsified bank documents and property records to acquire government-backed assistance and loans at more favorable loan terms. That's what we know so far about these allegations. Here's Attorney General Pam Bondi, who says she hasn't had a chance to review this at all just yet.
I saw it on breaking news this morning. This case was sent to us from Bill Pulte. We have not seen it. I inquired right before I walked out here. No one in my office has read it yet. We haven't looked at it. Of course, we'll be reviewing it.
Now, James went after then, when he was not president, Donald Trump over fraud allegations. You'll remember this in 2022. She sued Donald Trump for years of alleged financial fraud. And so Governor Hochul is suggesting this latest case from Pam Bondi is revenge for what she did for President Trump.
I'm going to allow her to have a chance to explain all this. He said he was going to go after his enemies. He declared he would be going after his enemies. And he's finally gotten down to maybe the J's on his list, Tish James. He's going to keep going.
All right, now we're waiting to see whether Pam Bondi takes up this case. 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Here's Justin Allen.
Is he doing it alphabetically? Is that the way he's doing it?
Well, according to Governor Hochul. So your last name is Zellick. Oh, he passed right by you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe I'm on the nice list.
Yeah.
We'll start here on the diamond in the Bronx. Noam Laden, Aaron Judge hit a tie-breaking home run leading off the 7th inning that ended a 10-game drought for the captain, and the Yankees defeated the Royals 4-3 to complete a 3-game sweep of Kansas City with a runner at second base in the 9th. Cody Bellinger made a diving catch in right field on MJ Melendez's sinking liner to preserve Fernando Cruz's first career save. The Yankees saved by the belly. You see what I did there, Noam Laden? That was very good.
Funny.
Thank you.
You're a funny guy.
Thank you.
I'm surprised that Donald Trump didn't was even considering going after you.
Judge had 3.
Just for your comedy alone, you should leave you alone.
Okay. I'm going to move on here. Huh? Judge had 3 hits for the 3rd time this season. He reached base 4 times, and his batting average climbed 27 points to a major league best 409. Yankee starter Clark Schmidt pitched 5 2/3 innings of 3-run ball in his season debut. Coming up next for the Yankees, Will Warren will get the start in tonight's opener of a weekend series against the Rays. First pitch from Tampa is scheduled for 7:05 p.m. in Minnesota. The Mets dropped their series finale in rubber game against the Twins. The final score 4-3 in 10 innings. Pete Alonso and Jesse Winker hit RBI doubles to end a 12-inning scoreless streak for the Mets. In the 8th against Griffin Jackson, Luis Angel Acuna tied it with a 2-out single. The Mets got 3 1/3 solid innings from Justin Hagenman in his major league debut after his call-up from AAA Syracuse in a bullpen game after Griffin Canning was scratched for illness. Up next for the Mets, they'll host St. Louis for a 4-game series starting tonight from Queens. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. In Jersey on the ice, the Devils dropped their regular season finale 5-2 to the visiting Detroit Red Wings. The Devils finished with 42 wins and 91 points for third place in the Metropolitan Division. New Jersey will play the Carolina Hurricanes in the first round. And the Rangers, Louis actually reminded me of this earlier, the Rangers are playing their final regular season game tonight, so that means it'll be the last time you get to hear Sam Rosen do play-by-play on MSG for the Rangers. So that is a little bit of an added sour element to the Rangers missing the playoffs this year and just generally not being very good. And we have to say goodbye now to Sam Rosen a little earlier than I guess we all had expected. NBA play-in games from last night. The final from Chicago. The Heat beat the Bulls 109-90. Miami will move on to a second play-in game against the Hawks. That'll decide the Eastern Conference 8th seed, set for a 7 p.m. tip-off from Atlanta tomorrow night. And the final from Sacramento saw the Mavericks beat the Kings 120-106. Dallas will move on to play second play-in game against the Grizzlies. That'll decide the Western Conference 8th seed. That's set for a 9:30 p.m. tip-off from Memphis tomorrow night. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time, 5:49. Let's go over to New Jersey. A family, entire community in Newark in mourning over the death of a 9-year-old girl who was killed in a house fire early Wednesday morning. We told you about this story. It was breaking news when we came on yesterday. She was one of 8 kids who lived in this home. 2 other kids, 14 and 15, they're still in the hospital this morning. Heavy flames broke out on the top floor of this 3-story home on Astor Street about 1:30 in the morning yesterday. And thank God for some local Good Samaritans who worked at a bodega nearby who raced in to try to get everybody up. They started knocking on windows and doors of this building, and they probably saved some lives in the process.
It was working. It just was on the door. Like, get out, fire. We came out. We just saw it everywhere. Like, stuff flying, dropping.
Those same bodega workers say they feel terrible, though. They were unable to get past the smoke and flames to those kids. They had to wait till the firefighters got there. But again, they knocked on a lot of doors and windows for the people on the lower level, and they got them out.
They were like banging on the window when I heard the noises. I ran outside with the baby. It was hard. I was really scared because I heard the kids crying. You know, it was really bad.
Yeah, the 9-year-old girl, she was pronounced dead at University Hospital. The other 2, again, I told you, still in the hospital. We don't know their condition right now. The fire, why it started, we do not know. 5:51. Mayor Adams is establishing a permanent fund for pre-K programs across the city. The school's chancellor, Melissa Ramos, says the administration says it's making nearly $170 million available annually to support critical programs like pre-K special education and expanded citywide 3K.
Our commitment to 3K and special education and realigning Head Start seats to meet community need are going to create a more nimble and robust early childhood landscape.
And the chancellor says the permanent funding means that every kid who wants an early childhood seat will have access one now and in the future.
Their parents and guardians can balance child care with their own careers. And our babies can get a jump start on learning to read, do math, and develop social and emotional skills.
552, while we're down Lower Manhattan, the city council members working to make New York City what they call Trump-proof. Committee members slammed the Adams administration for failing to show up to this hearing yesterday.
It's not just disrespectful, it's a slap in the face to every New Yorker who deserves answers.
It's quite remarkable. I think it speaks to just the complete incompetence that we are all experiencing on the other side of City Hall right now.
So the council hearing explored significantly expanding city savings, reserves, rainy day funds. They say they're afraid of the Trump White House.
This isn't about belt-tightening, it's about broken priorities. That's why today's hearing matters. That's why the administration should be here with us, telling us what their plan is to fight back against these cuts from the federal government.
City council members say the mayor has failed to demonstrate any contingency plan for the city as the Trump White House makes cuts. 552. Senate Leader Chuck Schumer, of course, New York Senator Chuck Schumer, his favorability rating continues to drop.
The poll shows only 23% of surveyed American adults had a favorable outlook of the Democratic New York senator, compared to 51% who had an unfavorable view. Schumer received pushback from Democratic lawmakers for his decision to help advance a Republican-led spending bill. I'm Mark Mayfield.
5:53. Some people say this is the lead story. Workers at Manhattan Beer and Beverage Distributors going to hit the picket lines again this morning, demanding better pay, benefits, and work conditions. Thousands of local bars, restaurants, supermarkets, bodegas now bracing for disruptions in their beer deliveries, including this one bar in Queens. It's called Catch, and she says, if I don't have any liquor coming in, that's it, man. I'm done. People are coming here to drink things like a Heineken, a Corona, a Guinness, a Modelo. Those are all beers that are distributed by Manhattan Beer and Beverage Distributors.
As you know, we make money on alcohol, so if we don't have the alcohol, we're not going to make any money. I just wish they would come to some resolution. These are not the economic times to be striking or to not give those workers their pension.
The employees' contract expired at midnight on Tuesday. Apparently, the union and these members will be back at the bargaining table again today. 5:54. Let's go out to Long Island. 4 women, this is unusual, 4 women busted in a burglary spree. Women, right? It's never women. It's always guys, more times than not. They are all from Romania. The suspects are accused of breaking into 7 homes in Elmont, Bethpage, East Meadow, Levittown, and Plainview. Over a span of 5 weeks, they stole everything they could get their hands on. Large amounts of money, personal belongings, which surprised people in these neighborhoods.
That's pretty scary to know that there was robberies on the blocks. Kind of scary.
I'm glad they made the arrest. It's just I really had no idea that anything was even going on. Especially here and Bethpage, both quiet neighborhoods.
Yeah, again, but 4 women working together, I mean, I think that's rare.
With all the technology going on?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that they did find them because cameras are everywhere. So you're going to get caught.
You make an excellent point. 5:55. You can sometimes appeal to the Vatican and win. We told you about this story a couple months back. The Church of Immaculate Conception, also known as St. Mary's, is an independent parish up in Yonkers, and they were told by the Vatican that they didn't have money to make repairs, and they might have to close them down and merge them with a church. So they appealed to the Vatican, and they won. Yeah, the Vatican came back and said, you know what? We're going to fix everything up at St. Mary's, and you can keep going there.
It's just true faith. Like, it was, everybody would ask, like, what can we do? Pray. Like, that's it. Pray. We did do everything legally proper, but it's just prayer. It's a power of prayer, and it shows.
Yeah, good for them. Remember the days of going to your favorite video store and grabbing a movie from the shelf, like Blockbuster? Now, of course, there's no reason to do it. Nobody has a VCR. Nobody, you go on Netflix, you pick a movie. But in Williamsburg, this couple has opened up a video store, hoping to bring back VCRs and videos. And I saw this on TikTok yesterday. Their shelves are full, and the line to get into this place around the block. And it's people who probably grew up, they didn't even have a VCR when they grew up. They look like 20-somethings in line.
My partner and I, we just got sick of waiting for somebody else to open up a store like that, so we decided to do it ourselves. Holding a tangible laser disc in your hand is such a different feeling than browsing a carousel on Netflix.
Yeah, I don't get the whole nostalgia to hold a video cassette in my hand. You remember they used to have the sticker, Be Kind, Rewind? I guess they have them on these too.
What we really wanted to bring back was just the feeling of people hanging out in a store, talking with people they don't know, giving recommendations.
Right, so I remember that part. That was kind of fun. You could ask the guy behind the counter what's a good movie, and he'd recommend one, or you'd look to see what other people were picking up.
You can see them online, but it's just not the same as perusing through them, and you could find something that you didn't know you were looking for.
I had an 18-year-old in, and they were like buying VHS, and they said they were going to go home and watch it on their VCR that they own, which blew me away.
Yeah, that kind of blows me away. So it's Night Owl Video. Right now, you can only purchase videos. Again, I'm not really sure why someone would do that, but people have weird nostalgia.
Record store culture never really went away like video store culture did. So hopefully this is the start of a national resurgence.
I don't think so.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?